Welcome to the J.R. Hendrick Texan Gentleman, a podcast that deals with the early life of J.R. Hendrick in a narrated format. Welcome to the podcast, where we have one last political hurrah. To just end it all for JR's father. Okay, so here we go. Let me make sure I get this right. Get ready, JR. Give your notes. For the next things transpired like this. Daddy spoken his last rally for Isaiah Friedman in Arlington, Virginia. Cousin Thomas had driven to Denison, Texas, Friday, and the next day went to the funeral of Uncle Jack, who was my great uncle. Okay, so 11:30 a.m., so Sunday, Central, with his girlfriend going to lunch with a business manager at their studio, JR decides to go and study the scriptures at the Holy Spirit Club and have lunch with Stoney and Heather. 1 p.m. Eastern. Jim is having fried venison with eggplant with his uncle in an upstairs lounge at 14 Heritage Gate, as Aunt Rebecca goes to a charity society lunch of the Assemblies of Christ. You know what I remember? Uncle Isaac said, "Your grandpa was, I cannot think, was about selling a farm. So he sent me to Texas to go to school and stay with you and your mom. We were the cutest little 3-year-old with your blue overalls and plaid shirts. It wasn't plaid, it was cotton," Jim said. "Anyway, you looked precious. You was holding on to my lunch pail, begging me not to get on the bus to go to school. I wish we could get into something else besides what I wore when I was a kid. All right. Why are you insisting on going back to Texas? How about my family? They don't lack for anything. Besides, the wife left yesterday with Gucci on. Look, don't look down on me. If Daddy had been the real man and come home then, I tell you something, we would have stayed in Montana. I would have gone to Montana State University and helped Daddy run his businesses. Even inherited. Or you could have been a farmer. Jim likes a cigarette. Put a muzzle on it. Put a muzzle on. Daddy ruined me on farming. 10 years later, Daddy had retired from the oil business and gave it to Christine. Ranching and farming became his passion, along with politics. 4 p.m. Central. At Kristen's condo, she and JR are making out and talking. When is it going to be official that we get these business associates from Utah? Kristen says. Daddy and I don't like talking business on Sunday. You know that. JR said. Kristen bristles. Do you do everything your father says? No, honey. I just don't want to talk about it right now. Now, Carmen is delivering burger shop to us for dinner tonight. And I'd like for us to have a peaceful evening. Fine, Cuddles. You get no argument from me? 6 p.m. Central. After dinner, JR and Kristen hold each other in her condo, watching 60 Minutes. 9 p.m. Central. JR returns to his condo because he's having another severe bellyache. After he's in the restroom, he soaks in the tub for an hour and a half before going to bed. 7 a.m. Central. JR and Kristen have waffles for breakfast in the condo. This is the 23rd. 9 a.m. Central. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Betsy gets some disappointing news. Fern had to go to Houston because her son Luke was in a motorcycle accident. After getting off the phone with Fern, she picks up the phone and calls Bethany Horowitz in Washington. Honey, tell Jim that I've changed my mind. Betsy was to charter a jet, which with Rod alone would fly her to go to Colorado Springs and then meet Jim for the rest of the tour de force. 11 a.m. Eastern. This is my best part here. And I'm going to pour me some grape juice for this because this is a powerful shall we say, political meeting here. Because it's obvious to everybody. It's obvious to everybody now that Jim has an ally. But again, first been off again on it again. But it's now full-fledged. He was moderate in the administration. Trying to regulate between Daddy and Phil later. Yes, he was. Okay. So, here we go. So, Jim is escorted for his 11 a.m. appointment to the office of his assistant, Bill Mayer. Take a seat, Jim. The executive in his mid-50s with thinning brown hair and spectacles said, "Would you like a drink?" A little bit Marsan, Jim said. To ongoing friendships and political relationships, Bill Mayer said as they clink glasses. So we're gonna have a toast to that, JR. When you first came to Washington 2.5 years ago, there for a time, well, I thought you were a rogue to me. Things turned out differently than I thought. And Jim's like, hell of an impression. And Bill says, let me give you a better impression. I'm going to vote against Phil and testify. Hopefully Congress will hold the dissolution of their agency until sometime after the new year. I think they can agree to that. I mean, you finally come to the knowledge that I have. Phil is mobbed up. I see it that way. I tell you the truth. Panetta and Cantor have him wrapped around their fingers until after the election is over. Well, I can still testify again. He can still testify against me in November. On November 19th, Jim said. The Commerce Department has him wanting to weave together this BA commerce. I'm the junkyard dog against it. And Clinton is going to be upping me to commerce soon. I bet you do, Jim said. I'm going to take over his interim chairman, as interim chairman. Before you resign and after you leave power, by December, I'll be talking to David Duran, and he will listen to me and talk to the Secretary of Commerce. I'm going to have you as one of my ears on the books. Eyes and ears. You can be appearing in D.C. as my in-house lobbyist. I like you, Jim. You're putting your ego aside for a while to think about your family. Well, I miss them. When do you want to leave? When you leave, Cantor in the Department of Commerce is going to suggest that the White House and Congress pass a bare-bones budget for the Office of Congressional and Media Affairs of the Relations in the SBA. Once you leave D.C. in the morning, I'll make sure that the President keeps your reputation, dignity, and future intact. Not to mention some great footsteps for your kids to follow. Jim rises from his chair and shakes Bill Mayor's hand. You have a deal, Bill. There's so much more to say. My wife, Allie, comes from a humble Ohio farm family. You remind me of them. You can even have a press conference tomorrow to say that you want out, that you want cuts on Commerce funding for education. Why are you doing this? You need it back at Hendrick Oil. Once that happens, by early to mid-December, I'll talk to David Duran, and this thing will be like it was a whistle smoke of a dream. What if a committee rules against me? You want legislation to be reformed and moved in? And I have one very loyal Rick Santorum. I'll have that committee eating out of my hand. If you want to put your faith, your trust in Cordell Wheeler, then I'll tell you, he has nothing. He has nothing in this town. I'll come see you in January. The window is closing, Jim. You're jumping out, and I'm jumping in. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Eastern. At the EAA, Jim is debriefing the interns, telling them from now on to report to Bill Mayer. But he was making his exit for the last time. 3 p.m. Central. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Bessie is talking to Rachel and Thomas. Okay, something went wrong with the technology. Doesn't want to cooperate very well at all. Hate when it does that. I want to thank you for going to Denison to bury Uncle Jack. Thomas, I know it must be hard for you to be alone, representative of the Swain family. Betsy said with a sympathetic voice. It was okay. Aunt Jen made us feel very welcome. It was okay. Aunt Jen made us feel very welcome, Rachel said. We have a new ranch hand. Aunt Lorraine is grandson. Nicky says he's sickened and tired of California life and wants to work at the ranch. Thomas said, bring him buy some time at breakfast. Especially once Jim gets back. We have the 30th to go back to Denison for Uncle Jack's wake. 7 p.m. Eastern. As JR is at Bruce McGraw's house with Kristen making business calls, Jim is making one last speech at the Ascension Christian College School of Business. 9 p.m. Central, JR starts to feel the stomach pain again, so he drops Kristen off at her condo and heads home. This is the next day, the 24th, Tuesday. 4:45 a.m. Eastern. Jim holds a press conference on his charter jet, having just arrived and checked in. He hammered in his point of targeting senators to pass his legislation of supportability for small business. 6:45 a.m. Central. Betsy's charter plane takes off from Midland, bound for Colorado Springs. And with her is Sarge and Forever. As Sarge has a business matter interest in Colorado Springs. Okay, next. I get the stupid thing to cooperate. Keeps wanting to jump back. Sorry about that. I get frustrated when technology doesn't want to do it right. 7 a.m. Kristen is meeting with her financier, so JR decides to have blueberry bagels at the Holy Spirit Club. Surprise, surprise, who should be there is C.B. Coleman and his cousin Cora. Hello, JR. Your girl skipped out on you for breakfast? I'm so sorry, Cora said. It's nice to sit with a friend. That brings a word of cheer, JR said. I know your girl is working her way up to be a famous musician. And she has her tasks. But we are here to bring you up, Connie said. Kim shows up and sits down at the table. Kim, I'm glad you came to join us because he's been pretty down. I won't be down for long. I'm calling my Uncle Carl today. He's getting me some business associates in Utah, Gerald said. The executive team leadership plan. I'm studying that right now in business school, Ken said. I took business myself before going to law school. And I will tell you something. I like the executive team management model better myself, Cora said. Young lady, that is 6 years ago. Things have changed, Gerald said. Well, just go ahead. Introduce me to this cute gentleman with you, Cora said. Cora, this is my best friend, Kim Colton. Kim, this is Cora Coleman, who is in law school with me and is also now the new president of Coleman Steele. Sorry, I'm living off campus. I haven't been out to the law school. Does your girl know? C.B. Coleman threw his hands up. Cousin, before this goes any further, I think we have to drop it. Tall tales and bitterness offend the spirit. 8 a.m. Central. JR decides to go to study at the law library. Yesterday, he had to go to Coleman Hall to meet with Susan Ismoff to discuss their debate on September 30th on a motion for inevitable discovery. 11 a.m. Mountain. Jim makes a speech at the annual convention of the Christian Entrepreneurs Association, which is headquartered in Colorado Springs. Dr. Larry Dobson, the chairman of the association, greets Jim warmly. Of course, Betsy was off shopping. Okay, 12 p.m. Central. JR gets out of property class early, and he sees Kristen heading towards Linear Hall. And he's like, Kristen, what the hell are you doing here? Business. I'm going to the civil practice clinic to set up a contract to buy me some property. As if you should know. Kristen? Yeah, that's the first bell for you, girl. Next one, there's going to be some more for you. But that's the first bell for her for a while. Okay, so now, 7 p.m. Mountain. As Betsy is fielding, it's actually 1 p.m. Mountain. As Betsy is fielding phone calls to get progress on Luke from Fern, and also progress reports on the range. Jim invites in David Rosenberg. Dave, on October 4th, I want you and your family to move into my mansion in Gainesville, Texas. Don't take over the whole damn thing. I need you to be my lobbyist on the ground in Texas. And I'll be up there in Gainesville sometime after Thanksgiving, Jim said. This is freaking amazing. Jim, freaking amazing, Rosenberg said with excitement, with excited energy. You are freaking amazing, Jim. Freaking amazing. Get the hell out of here. I gotta save my energy for a Republican speech tonight. 2 p.m. Eastern. At his suite at the LaGuardia Airport, President Clinton is sitting talking to his cousin-in-law, John Violet. How long are you gonna keep holding this Texas cowboy in the internal affairs of your government? Your wife can be the devil of a woman as long as he's in power, John said nervously. Oh, my good friend Mike, who just walked in, can tell us. Mike, what's the latest? President Clinton said, smoking a cigar. He left Washington, D.C. this morning for one last tour de force. Ellison said, taking out a sheet of paper. They had the charter jet reservations and the destinations. It had the charter jet reservations and the destinations. Cowboy bastard. He probably got Andrew House to write the letter of resignation saying that he switched from Perot to Dole. Ellison sits down, and his tone becomes more serious. That is a lie, a rumor, a falsehood. The president sighs with relief, deeply. Oh, thank God. He can hit back, but he's lost his sling, his thing. It's over. There there, you see? You see, Mr. President? He's a kook talking to other kooks. The president gives a hearty laugh. I'll see how his wife, who is so ladylike, could ever stand him. Okay, so it's 4:45 p.m. Central. Jill returns home after a full day of classes and the law library, and he gets to find Kristen there, and Matilda making lasagna for an early dinner, because it was going to be the night of the Amistar meeting. Okay, so now, 7 p.m. Central. JR and Kristen arrived at the hotel meeting. 8 p.m. Central. Michael Moore, one of the regional coordinators, was doing the meeting for training when he calls J.R. Hendrick. I haven't as much as a customer qualification from so the lesser in my team. For the past 6 weeks. However, this young man has scored tonight. Executive team leader, and could be well on his way to reaching regional coordinator by the end of the month. And you, Kristen, you've got to listen to this man more preached. 11 p.m. Mountain. In the Hyatt Place Hotel in Colorado Springs. In the executive suite, Jim and Betsy make love. Reunited after several days of being apart. Okay, so now we gotta find September 25. Here we go, September 25. 7 a.m. Central. At JR's condo, Kristen is having oatmeal. But at the same time, Matilda has made some hard-boiled eggs for JR. 8 a.m. Mountain. Jim speaks at a group of business and professional students at the University of Colorado Springs. 5,700 students entered the auditorium. 9 a.m. Central. While Kristen is in physics class, JR is at the law library studying for his day of classes. 1 p.m. Central. In legal practice lab, JR and his small team are working on case synthesis exercises. He heard from one of his father's contacts, Avery Covington, that his father had highlighted his mother. Yet another speech at the Christian Entrepreneurial Association in Colorado Springs. 2 p.m. Mountain. At the Suite Hotel in Colorado Springs, Jim talks to his Uncle Isaac and Aunt Rebecca. Thanks for the reservations. We'll fly out to Denver tomorrow morning, and we'll be at Billings by 2 o'clock our time, Uncle Isaac said. You should come for Easter. The whole family is going to be there in Gainesville, Jim said. We would love to have you there, Betsy said. I'm going to have my secretary charter you. You choose to and from, and you can stay in one of our rooms. Oh, darling, that's not necessary, Rebecca said. Now, come on. I insist, Jim said. 3:50 p.m. Central. JR walks out of Lanier Hall, getting ready to go to his condo. And then to the devotional, as Kristen was going to have dinner tonight with Betsy Sandoval. So JR was going to have a study dinner with Stoney. 7 p.m. Central, as my daddy is having dinner with his dream team and family in Colorado Springs. I went to the J. Reuben Clark devotional up at the law school. The topic for the devotional was law and family. 9:50 p.m. JR returns home to Kristen's condo, first to hold her for 30 minutes, in which she apologizes for her snubbing him yesterday. Okay. This is where it gets interesting. It does, doesn't it? September 26th. 3:30 a.m. Mountain Time. Jim, Betsy, and Jim's dream team climb on the jet at Colorado Springs to get ready for the 2.5-hour flight to Miami. $6:30 a.m. Kristen is having breakfast with a business manager, so JR decides to have breakfast at Crockett House with Kevin McDonald. Are you even sure she's the one? I mean, she spends more time at the studio than sometimes she does with you, Kevin said. I love her. She's a beautiful master in business. and in life. Just the right type of girl I've been looking for. Karen and I had a love that was too fleeting. Jennifer Bowers became a problem once Charlie started vying for her love. She is different. Well, I sense a problem ever since her mother butted in. A Republican marrying a Democrat sounds like a recipe for trouble, for disaster, Kevin said. We'll work it out, Kevin. At least talk to God about it. 9 p.m. Eastern. The Hebdrick entourage arrive in Miami, and a limousine owned by congressional candidate Fabio Combs takes them to his mansion. Yesterday, Jim learned that Phil Lader had taken over the EAA executive meeting. Betsy, so glad I'm done, Jim snapped. 1:50 p.m. JR walks out after having finished his torts class and has Carmen take him back to the condo. Dr. Harmon had called him and said that he had gotten an invitation to a book party that night at the Lubbock Country Club. 2 p.m. Eastern. In Miami, while Jim is talking to the congressional candidate and his staff, Betsy and the candidate's wife sit at a fountain to pray. The two seem to have a common bond, love for politics and the Bible. Meanwhile, in the mansion living room, Jim is engaged in some politicking. Later is all mobbed up. Grandmother came in from Geneva in 1890. His father joined his grandfather in the Swiss Mafia in 1954. Shady deals. Your friend likes control, Jack O'Hare, Combs' campaign managers said. First of all, he ain't my friend. I don't have too many people in the Clinton administration that ever be considered my friends. Bunch of Ivy League piece of crap nonsense, Jim bantered. And the congressman said this, he said, Well, you have a speech for me tonight in the Miami Titan Club. I'm telling you, it's going to be well worth your while. Because when I get elected to Congress, President Clinton will wish he'd never miss with the average American people. Fabio grew up poor in Harlem, Jack O'Hara said. But he made his way up with a fine, good education. Proof that the American dream is still alive. Damn right, Jim said. We gotta take this country back. For the average American families. Okay, so now it's 4 p.m. Central. Jared's studying in his condo and... see if I can find some phone there to knock on. There's a loud knock at the door. It's Mike Fields. What's this about? A $150 check that's deposited into your bank? Mike insists. Well, I see myself and Daddy. Well, I see that you and Daddy don't talk, Jared said. As usual, he's too busy chasing power. 10 years ago, he was chasing fame. Why this check? No offense, Mike. But Mama told me that once I reached the age of 21, and Daddy was done with me, my business affairs are none of y'all's concern. Oh? I see it's the business partnership you have with your girl. And your daddy should have told me all about it. Congratulations. But you can do better. Don't talk me down. When I've been well able to manage my business affairs as I see it, as I see fit. And don't judge me on my taste of ladies. Seeing that my daddy is a womanizer. Ooh, touche! JR shot Mike Fields, and this is a rarity. This is a rarity, but we're gonna have to shoot Mike Fields the belt. Yeah, go to school and quit and just butt out. Butt out. Okay, because that's just wrong. 6:30 p.m. Carmen takes JR to Lubbock Country Club, and as he walks into the place, the host, Delia Ashley, greets him. Oh, JR, darling, I got you some Dr. Pepper. and some cookies. Sit down and tell us all about your book. Mike Fields and your daddy says that there's a lot to be expected. I sat down and did a 25-minute speech and talked to people about my book. It must have been about 3 hours when I sat there with people. And I made $32 million in sales. 9:30 p.m. Carmen takes JR back to his condo, $32 million richer. He tries to call Kristen, but she's unavailable. Damn it, girl. What the hell? JR said. And JR fumed. And scene. I give this 3.2 glasses of grape juice. The big tour de force, Colorado Springs and Miami. And little satisfaction from the President Clinton. Same thing. Hope you enjoy listening to the J.R. Hendrick Texan Gentleman. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, become a part of the adventure. This is the James Hendrick Empowerment Network saying until next time, get ready for the rest of the story. It's going to be a lot more interesting from here and exciting.